A tall glass of liquid nitrogen, possession by the spirit of an evil leprechaun, the least conventional swingers party of all time. If sci-fi horror has taught us anything, it's that dying in outer space would be absolutely horrible and totally weird. Director Andrei Tarkovsky took Stanislaw Lem's 1961 novel of the same name and made the film adaptation of Solaris, which is often called the greatest science fiction movie ever made. The film focused primarily on communication issues between species and was infused with an exploration of isolation and grief. Psychologist Chris Kelvin travels to a space station orbiting Solaris, a fictional planet whose ocean causes strange hallucinations to the scientists on board. After finding the space station in disarray and discovering that one of his friends on board has committed suicide, Kelvin awakens to find his late wife, Hari, alive and well in his room. Solaris is creating a physical Hari from Kelvin's memories, which torments and confuses him. In one of the film's memorable scenes, Hari, distressed by the reminder that she is not real, drinks liquid nitrogen in an attempt to end her own life. She painfully convulses, oozing blood from her mouth, before dying, and then painfully resurrecting once more. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. So after taking Manhattan, what was really left for Jason Voorhees to do but head into space? In the future? Yes, a cryogenically frozen Jason coming to life in the 25th century and wreaking havoc on a spaceship is ludicrous. Still, it's also got a David Cronenberg cameo and a nod to Tarkovsky's Solaris. So, much like this list, it's the perfect blend of highbrow and cheese. Adrienne's death in Jason X is probably one of the most memorable of the entire franchise. While studying in her laboratory, Jason attacks Adrienne and dunks her head into a vat of liquid nitrogen, literally freezing her face mid-scream before smashing it onto the workbench. It's shocking, and it acts as another reminder of why liquid nitrogen in space is always a bad idea.
That didn't go so well.
Do you ever have a recurring dream about Mars that turns out to be repressed memories resulting in the realization that everything you thought you knew is actually a lie? Arnold Schwarzenegger learns the hard way in Total Recall. After a memory implantation of a Martian vacation at Recall Inc. goes wrong, the Austrian oak gets his ass to Mars. Why? To fight Cohagen, the planet's governor and his former employer, who is seeking an alien artifact rumored to be hidden in the planet's mines. The death of the villainous Cohagen is over the top, but it's also oddly satisfying and is likely what most of us imagine when we think of being exposed to the elements in space. His demise is definitely a defining terror for many, and is still one of the best space deaths of all time. This is perhaps the most obvious selection, since you can't really talk about terrible space deaths and not mention John Hurt's Kane. After discovering a chamber full of alien eggs, Kane is attacked by a facehugger, which renders him unconscious. Although Ripley refuses to allow him back on the ship, he's brought on anyway, and eventually the creature detaches itself and is found dead. Crisis averted, right? Nope. Ripley was right, even if no one listened to her. Although, if she had gotten her way, one of the greatest jump scares and deaths in science fiction wouldn't exist. Perhaps best of all is the reaction of the actors, who were told about the creature bursting forth, but not given any additional details. The Leprechaun beats the other oldies to the punch with this straight-to-video installment in the Leprechaun horror series. In this installment, the Leprechaun is in space and set to marry a princess named Zarina, except he's just after sex and she's just after his gold. True love, but the US Marines get in the way and kill the Leprechaun, who has interfered with their mining operations. One of the film's best and truly horrific deaths comes at the expense of Kowalski, a Marine who urinates on the body of the Leprechaun after he is killed. The Leprechaun's spirit then travels up the stream of urine into his, well, you know, only to burst forth later when Kowalski is, aroused. Yikes.
Now I'll get ya!
It comes as no surprise that one of the best horror entries in the sci-fi genre has some of the grisliest depictions of torture and death. The crew of the Lewis and Clark are sent out on a rescue mission after receiving a distress signal from the Event Horizon. This is a ship that had disappeared into a black hole and has now re-emerged with something sinister on board. Although some of Event Horizon's darker scenes are hallucinations brought on by the entity that has now taken over the ship, the crew uncover a video log of something much worse. The ship's former crew members, who are driven insane, begin mutilating each other during a massive session of bumpin' uglies. And in this case, we mean uglies. It's horrifying and, as it turns out, a foreboding taste of what is to come for the crew going forward. It's by no means the goriest death on this list, but there's something inherently chilling about how effortlessly HAL 9000 kills most of the astronauts on board the Discovery 1. When Dr. David Bowman and Dr. Frank Poole receive word from Mission Control that Hal, the ship's computer, is malfunctioning, they secretly conspire to unplug the machine. Hal, of course, believes the error to be of human origin, and after lip-reading the conversation between Poole and Bowman, turns mutinous. When Poole spacewalks outside of his transport pod in an attempt to disconnect the machine, Hal takes control of the pod, severing Poole's oxygen cord and kicking him off into space. While Bowman attempts to rescue his colleague in another pod, Hal turns off the life support systems for the remaining astronauts on board, who are in a cryogenic hibernation. It's efficient and ice-cold, but it is especially terrifying to think that even the very environmental controls designed to protect you in space could also turn against you.